All right, welcome back, mathematicians. Today we will add and subtract mixed numbers with like denominators. When we talk about like denominators, we're talking about denominators that are the same number. Let's make sure we get our date over here, 6/22/20. And for those of you keeping an accurate notebook, I'm on a fresh left page. And I've got 5L on the bottom and 5R on the right page. All right, let's look at that objective together. I will use multiple methods to add and subtract mixed numbers vertically and horizontally. All right, let's say it together. I will use multiple methods to add and subtract mixed numbers vertically and horizontally. Excellent. So let's look at adding, and for both adding and subtracting we will do we talk about vertical, where the numbers are stacked on one another, and we will also be looking at horizontal, where they're side by side and we can kind of write a number sentence. All right, let's look at the first for adding. We have two methods. First method, we're going to be looking horizontally, and this method is add whole number parts and fractions separately. So I'm going to use a few different colors here. And when we're talking about the whole number parts, let's look at 1 and 1. So we can actually go ahead and rewrite this. So we can take our whole number and our whole number. So they're moving over to these parentheses. We're going to do it separate. We're going to add them together. And then separately, we're going to move those fractional parts over. 2/3, 2/3. Remember, they're just coming from this side. And this way we have a nice number sentence left to right. We've got an equation. And from here, we can go ahead and regroup. And I typically like to do the pull down method here. So 1 and 1 make 2. Let's pull this down. Remember, when we're adding fractions that are like, we keep the denominator, and then we just add the numerators. So 2 plus 2/4 equals 2 and 4/3, and this is an improper fraction, so we actually have to regroup, and that's what we need to do. So I'm going to take my 2 and 4/3, and I'm going to break it apart. So I'm going to keep my 2 plus, here's my improper fraction. This is, we need to break this apart. If the total number is 3, we're over 1 whole. So there's the 1. What's the part? How many over are we? 3, 1. So it'll be 1/3. So 2 and 4/3 is the same as 2 plus 1 plus 1/3. So again, we can regroup that, turn that into 3, and bring down our 1/3. So this is what we talk about when we're regrouping. We're almost at the answer here, but we have to take it this far to get to the correct answer. And this is an example of horizontal addition. Let's look at a vertical set. Looks like I'm missing my addition sign. And this one's very, very simple. We're going to go in columns. 2/3 plus 2/3 is 4/3. 1 plus 1 is 2. Again, here we are at 2 and 4/3. Once we get to this point, we have to regroup. We've got to regroup. And that essentially will bring us right back up to this. 2 and 4/3. 2 plus 3/3 plus 1/3. And then we will eventually get our answer of 3 and 1/3. All right. And let's look at the second method for adding like denominators. This one is real simple. Now, what we're going to do is rewrite and add as fractions. And when we're talking about rewriting, means we are converting. So we're going to convert it. And remember, when we do that, we're going to go clockwise. We will multiply and add. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. That gives us 5/3. So I'm going to rewrite my 1 2/3 here as 5/3. I'm going to do the same thing to this mixed number. Thankfully, they're the same number, so I should get the same answer. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 5/3. 5/3 plus 5/3 is 10/3. I've got to regroup this because remember, if the denominator is 3, I need to know what the whole number turns into. So if I have 10 over 3, I can say I have 3/3 plus 3/3 gets me to how many thirds? Look at the numerators. 3 and 3 is 6. I'm not quite to 10 yet, so let's keep going. What's another 3? 3, 6, 9. Do I have room for another 3? No, I don't. I just have room for that one more. So 3/3, 3/3, 3/3. That makes 9, plus my 1 makes the 10. And now I can regroup this as 1 whole plus 1 whole plus 1 whole equals 3. And there's my remainder. So my 10 1/3 is really equivalent to 3 1/3. This is a method that I learned extensively as a child. I use it, it works. The previous method will also work, but this is an easy one to work with. All right, let's take a look at our first subtracting method. And we're going to, again, just like addition, we're going to go back and start with the whole number and then the parts. So the whole number and the fraction. So let's look at 7 1/5 minus 2 4/5. So if we just looked at just the numerators, can I take 4 away from 1? No, that means I'm going to have to borrow. So borrowing the fractions is we're borrowing from the whole number. So let's take a side here. Take a sidebar over. So if I have 7 1/5, I'm not borrowing 10. I'm borrowing everything in 5s. Because my 7 here is 5 over 5 plus 5 over 5 plus 5 over 5 plus 5 over 5 plus 5 over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 5 over 5, that's 6, plus 5 over 5, that's my 7. So when I'm borrowing from the 7 will turn into a 6, and I'm going to take one of these 5 over 5s and send it up here. So 5 plus 1 is 6/5. So this would turn into 6 6/5, the sloppy 5. Now I've got a mixed number I can work with. So I can say 6 minus 4 is 2. Keep the denominator. 6 minus 2 is 4. All right. Now, this is the crucial thing to remember. When we're borrowing, when we're talking base 10 and decimals, we're borrowing 10. Here, the denominator determines how much we borrow. All right. And this next one is pretty new to me, but I really like it. And this is called add from the lesser number to the greater number. So if we look at the parts of the number, so I'm starting with the smaller number, which is 2 4/5. I want to go, how far do I have to go to get to the whole number of 3? So I'm 4/5 of the way there. How many fifths are left over? Just 1/5. Okay? Now, from that 3, that whole number of 3, how far do I go from 3 to 4? Not 3 to 4, 3 to 7. Count up. 4, 5, 6, 7. What's the number? 4. 7 minus 3 is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. So that's how we get 4. Next, we're going from 7 to 7 1/5. We're going up just 1/5. And once we get these little parts here, we can go ahead and pull them together. We can just add them up. So I've got a fraction, 1/5 and 1/5 is 2/5, and my 4 is my whole number, 4 and 2/5. This one is interesting. I like it. It's abstract. This was a lot more work, but I ended up with the same answer. All right, and the last method, we've got one extra for subtraction, and I'm going to the back page, and when I get back there, since this is the same lesson, I'm sticking with 5L. All right, let's rewrite as fractions and subtract. So again, this one is just turning them into, let's see, we're just converting. We're going to convert them up. 5 times 7 is 35 plus 1, 36. 36. Keep the denominator. All right, let's move on to the next fraction. 5 times 2, 10. Plus 4, 14. And what are we doing with the denominator? You're right, we're going to keep it. And we don't actually subtract the denominator, so we can keep that in our answer. What's 36 minus 14? 6 minus 4 is 2. 30 minus 10 is 20. So I end up with that 22 over 5. Improper fraction is a correct answer. It's not the end all. Anytime we have that improper fraction, it is a division problem. 22 over 5 is the same as 22 divided by 5, or 22 on the inside divided by 5. What do we end up with? 5 goes into 22 how many times? Evenly. 4 gets us to 20. 2 is our remainder. Not only is our remainder, it's our new numerator. But again, we kept the what? Keep the denominator. So we're equivalent to 4 and 2/5. All right. This one works really well. All right, guys. You've got some more questions on Prodigy this week. Depending on where you're at with your skill, it's going to push you further ahead. It might ask you to drop back and solve some easier skills to get to this. But this week is all about adding and subtracting fractions. All right, have a great day.